Folks, welcome to episode 7 of the commentary recap analysis from the Netflix Unchained series. I'm stung by a bee. I look slightly, not as bad as I did yesterday.
No, it's much better.
But the show must go on. The show must go on, despite also Nala was sitting on the remote. So the show must go on. It's going to go on. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right, here we are.
Episode 7, let's do it.
Back to the French teams, right?
Back to the French teams. I think I suspect that the ASO and Netflix, that there was a deal that they would have to feature the French teams probably more than they would otherwise. I don't think Netflix cares as much about the two, and they provided access, whatever, which is great. It's fine. It's fun. But I think there was something going on behind the scenes there. So David Gaudu is introduced. He's sort of, as they've had Pinot on the team for a long time, and they're kind of like, yeah, Pinot, he did really well at one time, and then we're going to another guy one day because people age, and that's how it works. I don't know if I had to express that directly. I think we sort of get the... But okay.
Did they say that directly about Pinot?
Yeah, it was just like he was 3rd overall, and then, there's the next generation comes in. It's just like, yeah, we understand how, sports, the basics of that.
I remember, yeah.
That's fine. I loved Gaudu at home. He just looked like such a nerd. He was in his... I don't know what computer game he was playing. It was like a cycling simulation game because you showed him like in a breakaway on the computer typing buttons, and like he had the headphones on. He had that gamer chair.
He had a specific. Not interested in other humans.
The gamer chair.
Yeah.
I was briefly a gamer, and it looks like he just. I one of those like the glasses too. Like he just looks like a nerd, but in like a nice way. He had the dual screen monitors like you when you got spreadsheets.
That's true.
What does a bike racer do with a dual screen?
But I can't be. Here's the thing. That's true.
Yeah.
But if I had a chair that comfortable, I would fall asleep, which is why I don't have an office chair that comfortable.
No, a gamer chair has
fall asleep in front of my spreadsheets.
The gamer chair has like the speakers on the side and maybe like a motion that it can like do. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, but they're not. They have to be like some kind of comfort.
Oh yeah, sure, but I think it's more like a race car situation you got going on. I bet you he's playing other games. I bet he's got like some Counter-Strike going on or some Warcraft, something wild like that. I think he's got another whole identity on the internet.
You can't say what game he's playing, though.
No. Well, they showed him playing a cycling game. It's just like no one actually plays those. That looks super boring. But it showed him with that. He's got the glasses. He was wearing the flip-flops, the slides in the garage with the socks on.
I didn't notice that.
It was just like, I just love the style. It's very practical. It's exactly how I dress at home.
I'm not wearing shoes.
He won me over. And then he went riding with they said partner. I don't know if that's wife or girlfriend. They have a kid. Very European to like have a kid and not get married yet, so we don't judge.
Partners.
Yeah, they're partners, exactly. She looked like a pro of some sort. I looked it up. It said like she's a manager of a team Colo Quick, which I'm not familiar with. But they were riding together, and she clearly knew what she was doing. They usually like do a little bumping, you know? How mad would you be if I like elbowed you over?
Without warning. But I could stay up.
No, yeah, you'd be fine. But like she seemed like pretty chill, like she's done this before. She's banged some elbows.
I just want to know. I don't like getting caught off guard.
No, I wouldn't do it. That's fine. We're just going for coffee. We're not sprinting for anything. Yeah, that's fine. So they get into his GC role, which is he's fighting for a podium spot so it's Garrett who's in 3rd, and he's trying to sort of unseat that. It also shows one Nairo Quintana, which was an interesting. Well, it doesn't show him. It shows his name in the screen as briefly as they possibly could. Nairo was disqualified from that Tour de France for doping, le dopage. He was using the tramadol, which everyone knows has been banned for a long time. So sort of those like, what are you doing that for? That's just like the painkiller they would take. But that was like, he certainly knew it was not. Yeah, that was like the moment. I figured that Netflix would dodge the doping situation, but that was an opportunity to like a very obvious one because he was in the top 5 and just. Gaudu moved up from 5th to 4th with no conversation or discussion about it, and that was why. It was because Nairo went home.
Yeah, but see, I wouldn't have known that, and I would have noticed that. So I guess for an audience like me, you start highlighting that now. That's a whole nother series.
No, but it could be like, but who watches the Tour de France or anything about the Tour de France and doesn't know about like some sort of doping history? Like it's almost weird to completely leave it out when there's one that's that glaring, because that would have been an opportunity to be like, oh, and like Tour de France is a whole doping thing. This one guy had to go home for it, and he moved up a spot, and then they could all toast to that. I don't know how they were, but they chose to ignore the scandal. That might have been part of their deal with the ASO too. It's just like, we don't talk about doping, which would be very pro cycling. They show the media asking Gaudu how hard the climb was. The Alpe d'Huez. It's just, sorry, media. You're so lazy. You're so, like, the number of times I asked that, like, is Mount Nebo, is this the hardest climb you've ever done? Like, no, they're all really hard. It's hot. Like, everyone's there climbing. It's this weird, like, race cock sizing of climb difficulty. And it's just like, yeah, it was 7% for an hour. What do you want from me? And he handles it nicely, but it's just like, God, I would roll my eyes so hard. They show Garrett on the Swanee table again, or that might have been a Swanee. That might have been a chiropractor. Look, he was getting like a laser thing done.
Yeah, I think it was laser.
That was lasers. It was like a circle. Like, I've seen the cupping and I've seen massage people with some. Yeah, I think it was a laser, but I haven't. Like, normally a laser's plugged into something. It's been a while. They got some new shit.
It was very low pressure situation happening.
Okay, they got some new shit on NEOs. That's fine. He also says it's funny because he's like, you forget how tired you get. And, you know, and a couple weeks later, you're looking forward to the next one. It's just like, it's a perfect summary of, that's how we are. I don't know if I think that's kind of like human nature. I think you're supposed to forget. I like that he admitted that. He also someone texted him and said that he was in high school when Jonas and Pogacar were born, which is great.
Yeah.
I just in general, I love how Garrett raced that tour. The whole thing, just like steady, smart, consistent, never made any attempt to win, just like knew exactly where that he was. I forget, he said like best of the rest was what he was going for, and he was. I like how he's talking to the soigneur. Like the soigneur is a lot like a bartender where you just like it's just a free therapy session that the therapist didn't sign up for, you know? And it's just like, for sure, like the guy's got one hand on the things, the other hand's just like, God, I wish you'd shut up. Like, I don't care about, you know, yeah, sure, you miss your kids, you know what I mean? And that's what's going on. That's part of their gig. It's part of their gig to make you feel better. Garrett does get to travel with his wife and his family.
I was just thinking that when you said that about the kids, missing the kids.
Yeah.
I saw some family tagging along, but very little.
So at the tour, obviously, like, they have their own separate hotels. No one's sorting that out, but like they're at the finish line, and you get to do a quick kiss and hug. But there's a big rule, like the wives, they can't go on the bus. Wives and girlfriends don't. I remember like Mike Wood's wife came on the bus once, and it was like, and it's like, it's just because there could be naked. There's 100% naked dudes. That's not there could be. There's guaranteed to be naked dudes. So they're separated, but in the grand scheme, you know, you've got your training camps, you've got your race schedule, you've got all this stuff, and for most guys, like, you're away from the family for weeks, months at a time. Garrett is like one of the rare, like, at a certain level, you get to have your training camp. He comes to Malibu the whole off season, and the family comes. Very few guys get. So he's complaining as valid. He's explaining how hard it is. It's much harder for like everyone else.
Yeah.
But there's a few guys who like get to do it. Like, he gets to do it classy. His life is still like, they're all flying business class. They're staying in somewhere nice. For most guys, it is like, you know, 60 days on the road, solid with, you know, here's a race, week off, whatever.
I've had some conversations with some wives of some of these guys when we've met.
Yeah, sure.
You know, you guys go do your thing.
Yeah. You'd love for me to leave for 2 months, wouldn't you?
No. What I really liked while we're on the topic of family was when his son was there. He was just in the shot on that little horsey thing, you know, on the playgrounds until the spring.
Yeah.
And he was just
dude was going
for
it. Yeah, they're in trouble. Dude's got the thrill seeker gene. That side comes from Garrett for sure.
Yeah.
And then you have David Miller trying to build up the importance of Garrett finishing on the podium. He says this is his last chance to prove himself. It's like, no, he won the tour. He's proven this is gravy / like, he's doing his job, but he's sufficiently proved himself for eternity across the universe. And they go to stage 18. Van Aert attacks from the gun. There's nothing worse. Again, I talked about like kind of the art of making the breakaway, and you know, somebody attacks, they form a wall. There's nothing worse than when the race starts and you see the yellow jersey team racing aggressively. That just means like the whole day is going to suck. It's one of those like, oh, Van Aert's not trying to weld the move and let two guys get 20 minutes. He's attacking. Like, fuck my life. The first hour is going to be super hard because no one wants Van Aert up the road, so he has to brute force. It's just a real messy situation.
I'm sorry. I was trying so hard not to laugh at her.
Creature's getting settled here. You ready? Okay. There you go.
Who was the guy that crashed into the car? That was wild when he crashed into the team car.
I believe that was Michael Matthews. It's one of those, like, the road narrowed and just the caravan is a complete mess. And there's too many cars. There's motorcycles. There's press motorcycles. There's camera motorcycles. There's all kinds of buzzing and motors taking place. And it's one of those like it's insane. It doesn't happen more often because it just looks when you see it, it's like yeah, he's passing the car and the motorcycle doesn't see him. Like it's obviously it's their fault. The riders get priority, but it's also I don't see what anybody could have done. In the last couple of climbing stages, which is the last chance for Pogacar to take real time. So the real race, as Netflix frames it, is for third overall, which there is big drama for. One of the things that's kind of fun about the tour is like as it goes, whatever nationality you are, whatever if you're into the sprinter stage, the climber stage, like there's something to cheer for no matter who's watching. And I think they do a good job kind of showing that like okay, the race for second is separated by 2 minutes, but third, like here's some drama, here's something for the French folks to cheer for. And if it wasn't that, it'd be a potential stage win at the end. It shows Geraint getting dropped, and I'm not sure if he realized. It looked like the team car realized that he had a flat before he did. And they just do. I noticed with the disc brakes, the only major flaw with disc brakes is that it's a slower change. So they actually just did a full bike change instead of a wheel change. Like sometimes they have like a little drill gun that unlocks the thing really fast, but it's still like it's a little bit awkward. Also with the help of Danny Martinez, who doesn't get mentioned at all, but it's just like that's one of the best climbers in the world, and he's just like he's here to pace. So it's Gaudu trying to drop Geraint, except with arguably a better climber than both of them is helping Geraint, and it's like, well, you're screwed. Like that's where the team element really comes into play.
Why wouldn't they have talked about him?
I think there's just too many names to talk about. I remember you met Jim Manton, who does the bike fits in Orange County. He's like one of the best bike fitters in the world. Is not far from here. And like not all the pro teams, but like a lot of world tour teams have their camps here and bring dudes and guys will fly him out, whatever. But he worked with Martinez, and he also does like aerodynamic testing. So part of his fit is the aerodynamic part. And I think I had just gone in there like 2 weeks after Danny Martinez was in there. He was on EF at the time. And Jim was just like, oh, that guy was strong. He was like, it was one of those, like, you're supposed to, his English wasn't great. Maybe that's why he wasn't interviewed. Okay. But his English wasn't great. So he was like, you're supposed to pedal, obviously you're riding to test your aerodynamics, but then Jim wants you to pedal like pretty hard. And whatever, like, he was going and he was like, okay, our aerodynamics were good, but under real effort, it'd be different. And Martinez was like, "Oh, you want full gas?" That was the only word. He was like, "Oh, you want full gas?" And so he did some laps at the velodrome full gas. And Jim was like, and he's seen a lot of dudes. That guy's seen a lot of dudes, and it was like, okay, that Martinez guy, he knows what he's talking about. And then just when I was feeling bad for Gaudu, did you notice what he did when he crossed the finish line?
Oh, he did it completely.
He hit the stop button. Just when I was like, I'm not sure who I'm cheering for between Geraint and Gaudu. Like, I like both of them now. Gaudu did the button, and I was like, oh, all right, I'm a team Geraint. They show Geraint cooling down at the bus after the stage on the stationary bike. That was like an invention. Like 2 years after I retired, guys started cooling down. Cooling down was not a thing in my day. Warming up, absolutely not. For a time trial, sure. For time trial, everybody warms up super hard for 2 hours and blows himself. For after a race, you get off the bike, you get on the bus, and some scientists realized that cooling down is good for you, and all the guys were like, shit, now they set up the trainers at the thing, and you can't take the shower right away. It's an extra, like, probably just 15 minutes to wash out your legs. But obviously it's, like, not good for you to sprint and then immediately just get off your bike, but it's just what your body wants to do.
Yeah. So
that was one of those, I was like, oh, man, these guys will have to warm down now. That's a bummer. So at the end, it's established that he's not going to take third, and it's one of those, like, you've got Matteo sort of putting out the pressure on Gaudu and like, oh, you need to win, and we've got sacrificing everything for whatever, and we want a tour winner, and then they're happy for fourth. There's a point where like they're getting fourth and they're popping champagne and they're stoked for it. It's one of those like they can't admit at the beginning that they're going for fourth, or even in the middle when they're trying to get third, but then it's like, okay, this is still pretty great.
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't that excited by this episode.
She didn't like this episode. When it was over, Emily just announced it was done.
Yeah, like I think towards the end I started saying that.
No, you were. I noticed you on your phone a little bit. You were just like you were checked out. I think they were saving a lot for the last episode.
They almost lost me though.
They almost lost you. Now that's it for episode 7. Coming right back with episode 8, and I will. You will not have to. I will do a thing for the Tour de France. I will hit the subscribe thing on whatever you're listening to this, and I'll do something. I'll try and go daily. No promises. I'll do my best. This is a one man show. Especially when you're gone,
I mean, I might show up for one or two. Or just
but you're not going to do the editing or the uploading or the thumbnails or descriptions. That's the part that's actually correct. The work. The sitting here is like kind of the fun part. Yeah, I got to do the whole. It's going to be a lot but I'm going to try.